The Crimson Nexus space station hung in the darkness like a rusted jewel. It was not a pretty place. The station attracted the worst kinds of beings from across the galaxy. Pirates sold stolen goods in shadowy corners. Bounty hunters drank in smoky bars. Criminals of every species walked the metal corridors without fear. 3 young aliens stepped off their ship and into this dangerous world. They were Keshtar, a species known throughout the galaxy as natural-born hunters. Their bodies were built for the chase. Strong muscles moved beneath scaled skin. Their eyes could see in almost total darkness. Their ears could hear a heartbeat from 50 meters away. Zira was their leader. She walked with confidence, her head held high. Behind her came Vex, smaller and quicker, with sharp eyes that noticed everything. The largest was Nell, whose strength was legendary even among her own people. All 3 wore the traditional hunting gear of their homeworld. Dark armor covered their bodies. Weapons hung from their belts. "Remember why we are here," Zira said to her companions. Her voice was steady and serious. "This is our coming-of-age hunt. We must capture a sentient being and return with them to our homeworld. Only then will our people recognize us as true hunters." Vex nodded eagerly. "The prey must be intelligent enough to understand fear, but weak enough to capture. Those are the old laws." Nell cracked her knuckles. The sound echoed in the narrow corridor. "I am ready. Let us find something worthy of our skills." They moved through the station like shadows. The Keshtar had been hunting since before most galactic species had discovered fire. It was in their blood, their culture, their very souls. Every young Keshtar must complete this ritual to become an adult in their society. For 3 hours, they searched. They watched a Graven merchant who was too well protected. They considered a Thaxian pilot, but he traveled with armed companions. They needed prey that was alone, vulnerable, easy. Then Vex spotted him. "There," she whispered, pointing toward a repair bay at the edge of the station's industrial section. Through the open doorway, they could see a human male working on some kind of engine. He was alone in the bay. No weapons were visible. He looked small compared to the massive machinery around him. His clothes were covered in grease and oil. He seemed completely focused on his work, unaware that he was being watched. "A human," Zira said thoughtfully. She pulled out her data tablet and searched the galactic database. Information about humans appeared on the screen. Her eyes widened slightly as she read. Category 3. Threat level. Minimal danger to trained hunters. Vex read over her shoulder. "It says here that humans have average strength, no natural weapons, poor night vision, and limited hearing. They come from a planet with comfortable conditions. They are not adapted for combat." Nell laughed quietly. "This will be easier than we thought. Look at him. He is skinny, weak. He does not even carry a weapon." Zira studied Marcus Chen through the doorway. The human appeared to be in his late 20s. He had dark hair that fell across his forehead as he worked. His arms were thin, nothing like the powerful limbs of a Keshtar. He used simple tools to repair the engine, turning bolts and checking connections with careful precision. "He is perfect," Zira decided. "Intelligent enough to count for our ritual, but clearly not dangerous. We will take him quickly and be gone before anyone notices." The 3 hunters made their plan. It was simple, as the best plans often are. They would wait until Marcus finished his current task. When he left the repair bay to return to the main station, they would corner him in one of the empty corridors. A quick strike, a stunning weapon to keep him unconscious, and then back to their ship. They would be home within 3 days. They waited patiently. Patience was another skill all Keshtar learned young. A good hunter never rushed. Finally, after 20 minutes, Marcus stood up. He wiped his hands on a dirty cloth and looked at the engine with satisfaction. He gathered his tools and placed them in a worn bag. Then he walked toward the door. The 3 Keshtar moved into position. They knew the layout of this section. There was a corridor just around the corner that was rarely used. No cameras watched that area. No one would interrupt them there. Marcus walked down the main corridor. his tool bag slung over his shoulder. He was humming something, a tune the Keshtar did not recognize. He seemed relaxed, tired from his work, thinking about nothing more dangerous than perhaps getting dinner. He turned the corner into the empty corridor. The three Keshtar stepped out from their hiding places, blocking both ends of the hallway. Weapons appeared in their hands, energy weapons that glowed with blue light. They moved with the practiced coordination of hunters who had trained together since childhood. Marcus stopped walking. He looked at Zira in front of him, then at Vex, and Nell behind. His face showed surprise, but not panic, not fear. That should have been their first warning. "Human," Zira said, her voice commanding. "You are now the prey of the Keshtar. Surrender peacefully, and you will not be harmed. Resist, and we will take you by force." Marcus slowly lowered his tool bag to the floor. He raised his hands, palms open, in what appeared to be a gesture of surrender. But his eyes were moving, looking at each of them carefully, studying them. "Ladies," he said, his voice calm and even, "I think there has been a misunderstanding. I have work to finish. Maybe we can talk about this?" Zira smiled, showing her sharp teeth. Humans were known for trying to talk their way out of danger. It would not work. "There is nothing to discuss," she said. "Come quietly." Marcus looked at her for a long moment. Then he said something that surprised all three hunters. "No," he said simply. "I do not think I will." Zira's smile faded. No prey had ever refused her so calmly before. Prey was supposed to beg or run or fight in panic. This human just stood there with his hands raised, looking at her like she was being unreasonable. "You do not understand your situation," Zira said, stepping closer. "We are Keshtar hunters. You are alone. You have no weapons. You cannot escape." Marcus tilted his head slightly. "I understand perfectly. You want to capture me for some kind of ritual. But I really do have work to finish. That engine needs to be done by morning, or a cargo ship cannot leave. People are depending on me." Vex growled low in her throat. "Your work does not matter now, human. You are coming with us." "I would rather not," Marcus said politely. Nell had heard enough talking. She raised her weapon and fired a warning shot. The energy bolt scorched the wall just centimeters from Marcus's head. The metal hissed and glowed red. Marcus moved. He dropped and rolled sideways with speed that shocked all three hunters. The movement was smooth, practiced, like he had done it 1,000 times before. He came up running, heading toward a maintenance door that none of them had noticed. "Stop him!" Zira shouted. They charged after him, but Marcus had already slipped through the door. It led into the station's maintenance tunnels, a maze of pipes and passages that workers used to access the station's systems. The three Keshtar followed without hesitation. Their superior senses would make tracking easy. Vex's sharp eyes could see his heat signature. Nell's strength would let her tear through any obstacle. Zira's hunting instincts had never failed her. They ran through the tunnels, following the sound of Marcus's footsteps echoing ahead of them. The passages were narrow and hot. Steam hissed from broken pipes. Warning lights flickered in the darkness. "He is heading deeper into the station," Vex called out, reading the thermal traces Marcus left behind. "He cannot escape this way. These tunnels all connect back to the main sections." But something felt wrong to Zira. Marcus was not running in panic. His footsteps were too steady, too deliberate. He was going somewhere specific. They rounded a corner and found themselves in a wider section filled with cooling pipes. Steam suddenly exploded from a damaged valve, filling the area with hot white vapor. Vex hissed in frustration as her thermal vision became useless. "He released it deliberately," Vex said. "He knows we are tracking his heat." They pushed through the steam and continued the chase. Now they followed the sound of his movement instead. But strange noises came from all directions. Clanging metal. Footsteps that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Voices speaking in languages they did not understand. "Recordings," Nell realized. "He is playing recordings to confuse us." Zira felt a cold realization settle in her chest. This human was not running blindly. He was leading them somewhere. But where? And why? They found out 5 minutes later. The tunnel opened into a large chamber. Equipment filled the space, machines whose purposes the Keshtar did not recognize. And in the center of the chamber, Marcus stood waiting for them. But something was different about this room. Zira felt it immediately. Her body felt strange. Light. Artificial gravity malfunction, Marcus called out to them. His voice echoed in the large space. This section has been broken for 3 weeks. Station management has not gotten around to fixing it yet. As he spoke, he pushed off gently from the floor. His body floated upward in the zero-gravity environment. He moved with easy grace, spinning slowly to face them. The 3 Keshtar tried to charge at him. It was a mistake. Nell pushed too hard and went tumbling through the air, unable to control her momentum. Vex tried to grab a pipe to steady herself but miscalculated and went spinning. Zira managed to stop herself, but her movements were clumsy and awkward. Keshtar were ground predators. They had evolved to hunt on solid surfaces, using their powerful legs and sharp reflexes. In zero gravity, all their natural advantages disappeared. Marcus, however, moved like he belonged in this weightless environment. He pushed off walls with precise touches. He spun and twisted his body to change direction. He had clearly spent time in zero gravity before. Humans adapt, Marcus said, floating near the ceiling. It is what we do best. We were not born the strongest or the fastest, so we learned to use our environment instead. Vex managed to orient herself and fired her weapon. But in zero gravity, the recoil sent her spinning backward. The shot went wide, hitting the far wall. Marcus pushed off and glided across the chamber. As he passed Vex, he reached out and plucked the weapon from her hand with timing that seemed impossible. The movement was so smooth that Vex barely realized what had happened until the weapon was gone. "Sorry," Marcus said, tucking the weapon into his belt. "Cannot let you hurt anyone." Nell roared in anger and tried to grab him. She was stronger than any human could ever be. But strength meant nothing when you could not reach your target. Marcus dodged easily, pushing off a nearby machine to change direction. Zira watched all of this with growing frustration and confusion. The database had said humans were Category 3. Minimal threat. Easy prey. But this human was making them look foolish. He was playing with them. "Who are you?" Zira demanded, finally managing to stabilize herself against a wall. Marcus looked at her. His expression was not mocking or cruel. It was simply calm, patient. "My name is Marcus Chen. I am a mechanic. I fix things. And I really truly do not want to fight you. But I also will not be captured." He pushed toward an exit on the opposite side of the chamber. Nell tried one more time to intercept him. But in zero gravity, she moved like a baby learning to walk. Marcus slipped past her easily. At the doorway, he paused and looked back at them. "The gravity turns back on in this section in about 5 minutes, he said. "You might want to get closer to the floor before that happens. Landing from up there will hurt." Then he was gone, disappearing into another tunnel. The 3 Keshtar floated in the chamber, breathing hard, weapons useless, pride wounded. Their perfect hunt had become something else entirely, something they did not understand. The 3 Keshtar hunters sat in a dark corner of a station bar, nursing their wounds and their pride. Nell had a bruise on her shoulder from when the gravity had turned back on. Vex was still angry about losing her weapon. But the worst injury was to their dignity. "No prey has ever escaped us like this," Nell said, her voice low and dangerous. "We are Keshtar. We are hunters. This is shameful." Zira said nothing. She was staring at her data tablet, scrolling through information about humans. The basic file they had read before was not enough. She was digging deeper now, accessing military reports and scientific studies. What she found made her blood run cold. "Listen to this," she said quietly. Her companions leaned closer. "Humans are classified as persistence predators. On their homeworld, they did not chase prey with speed. They followed it for hours, sometimes days, until the prey collapsed from exhaustion." Vex frowned. "That is disturbing, but it does not explain what happened in those tunnels." There is more, Zira continued. Earth is classified as a Class 7 death world. The planet has extreme temperature variations, dangerous weather, countless poisonous creatures, and diseases that can eliminate entire populations. Humans evolved to survive all of that. Nell shook her head. The database said Category 3. Minimal threat. The database was wrong, Zira said. Or incomplete. Look at this section about human problem solving. She read aloud. Humans possess exceptional ability to use tools and modify their environment when faced with superior opponents. Humans compensate through planning, creativity, and willingness to take calculated risks. The three hunters sat in silence, absorbing this information. Everything they thought they knew about their prey was incorrect. We need a new plan, Vex said finally. We cannot return home without completing our hunt. Our families would never forgive the shame. Zira nodded slowly. Then we hunt smarter. We study him the way he studied us. We learn his patterns. And we do not underestimate him again. For the next 2 days, they watched Marcus Chen. They learned his schedule. Every morning, he arrived at the repair bay at the same time. He worked on different projects, always alone, always focused. In the evenings, he ate at a small food stall in the marketplace. He talked to other workers but had no close friends on the station. He seemed like an ordinary man, living an ordinary life. But the Keshtar had learned not to trust appearances. On the third day, they set their trap. The marketplace was crowded with beings from 100 different worlds. Merchants shouted about their goods. The smell of strange foods filled the air. It was the perfect place for an ambush. They had placed a maintenance alert on Marcus's datapad, calling him to check a damaged machine in the cargo bay. The alert looked official. The machine was real. But it was bait. Marcus arrived at the cargo bay exactly on time. He carried his tool bag and wore his usual work clothes. He walked to the machine they had specified and knelt down to examine it. The three Keshtar moved in from different directions, cutting off all exits. This time, they were ready for tricks. Vex had a new weapon. Nell had studied human combat techniques. Zira had planned for every possibility. But before they could spring the trap, Marcus pressed something on his wrist. A small remote device. The cargo containers they had hidden behind suddenly shifted. Magnetic locks released. The containers slid on their rails, changing position and blocking the Keshtar's attack routes. He knew, Vex said in disbelief. He knew we were here. Marcus stood up and faced them. He did not look surprised or afraid. He looked tired. You three are not very good at being subtle, he said. I spotted you watching me on day 1. The fake maintenance alert was clever. But the machine you chose does not break that way. Anyone who actually works with these systems would know that. He started walking toward the exit. Not running. Just walking. Like he had every right to leave. Stop, Zira commanded. She and her companions chased after him. What followed was chaos. Marcus ran through the crowded marketplace, weaving between merchants and customers. The Keshtar followed, but Marcus used every advantage. He ducked under a fabric merchant's display, causing colorful cloths to fall behind him and tangle Vex's legs. He pushed over a cart of metal parts, sending them rolling across the floor where Nell nearly tripped. He used the crowd itself as a shield, moving between people so the hunters could not fire their weapons without hitting innocents. The chase led them deeper into the market. Marcus grabbed a maintenance laser from a tool vendor's stall, not to use as a weapon, but to cut a rope holding up a display of cooking pots. They crashed down, creating more obstacles. He threw a cargo net over Nell when she got too close. He used magnetic clamps to seal a door behind him, slowing Vex down. He moved with purpose. Every action, carefully calculated. Finally, Nell cornered him in what appeared to be a dead end, a narrow alley between two cargo sections. No doors, no escape routes. Just Marcus with his back against the wall. Nell approached slowly, breathing hard. She was angry but also cautious now. This human had surprised them too many times. Enough games, Nell said. You are caught. Surrender. Marcus looked at her. Really looked at her. His expression was serious. Why? He asked simply. The question caught Nell off guard. What do you mean? Why? Why are you hunting me? What did I do to you? Why do you need to capture me? Nell hesitated. No prey had ever asked her these questions before. It is our tradition. Our coming-of-age ritual. We must capture a sentient being to prove we are worthy hunters. And if I do not want to be captured, if I have my own life, my own goals, my own right to freedom, that does not matter, Nell said, but her voice lacked conviction. The ritual requires it. Marcus nodded slowly. So, your honor requires you to hurt someone who has done nothing to you. Someone who does not want to fight. Does that really sound honorable to you? Before Nell could answer, voices shouted from the main corridor. Station security was coming. Someone had reported the disturbance. Marcus did not run. He just stood there, looking at Nell with those calm eyes. Think about it, he said quietly. Then he slipped past her and disappeared into the crowd before security arrived. Nell stood alone in the alley, her mind churning with uncomfortable thoughts. The three Keshtar hunters sat in their small rented room on Crimson Nexus. The space was cramped and uncomfortable, but it gave them privacy to think. 2 days had passed since Nell's conversation with Marcus in the alley. 2 days of doubt and confusion. We are failing, Vex said quietly. Our hunt has become a disaster. Every move we make, the human anticipates. Every trap we set, he escapes. Nell nodded slowly, and his words stay in my mind. He asked if our honor required hurting innocent people. I have no answer that feels right. Zira was scanning news feeds on her data tablet. Suddenly, her body went rigid. We have a bigger problem. She turned the screen so her companions could see. A bounty notice glowed on the display. Marcus Chen's face stared back at them. The reward amount made all three hunters inhale sharply. 50,000 credits, Vex whispered. Who posted this? Zira tapped the screen, pulling up more information. Kravik the Vortan. He is a crime lord who controls much of the illegal trade on this station. It says Marcus witnessed a weapons shipment 3 weeks ago. Kravik wants him eliminated. Eliminated, Nell repeated. Not captured, dead. The word hung heavy in the air. The Keshtar were hunters, not murderers. Their tradition required capturing prey alive, treating them with a measure of respect. This bounty was different. This was an execution order. Look at the response, Vex said, pointing at the screen. 12 different bounty hunters have already accepted the contract. They are coordinating their attack for tonight. Zira felt something cold settle in her stomach. 12 bounty hunters were not like 3 young Keshtar on a ritual hunt. These would be professionals. Killers. Marcus Chen, clever as he was, could not fight that many armed opponents. This is not our concern, Vex said, but her voice lacked certainty. Our hunt and Kravik's bounty are separate matters. Are they? Nell asked. If Kravik's hunters eliminate Marcus, what happens to our ritual? We cannot capture a dead human. Zira stood up abruptly. That is not why this matters. It matters because Marcus showed us mercy, multiple times. He could have hurt us in those tunnels. He could have turned us over to station security. Instead, he only defended himself. What are you saying? Vex asked. I am saying we owe him a warning at minimum, perhaps more. The 3 hunters looked at each other. Slowly, understanding passed between them. Their hunt had changed into something else. Something that felt more important than tradition. They found Marcus in his workshop, working late into the evening. He looked up as they entered, his hand moving instinctively toward a tool that could be used as a weapon. But when he saw who it was, he relaxed slightly. Let me guess, Marcus said. One more attempt to capture me? No, Zira said. We came to warn you. There is a bounty on your life. Kravik the Vortan wants you dead. His hunters will attack tonight. Marcus's face went pale. How many hunters? 12. Professionals, heavily armed. Marcus sat down heavily on his workbench. For the first time since they had met him, he looked genuinely worried. 12. I cannot fight 12 trained killers. You could run, Vex suggested. Leave the station on the next transport. No transports leave until morning, Marcus said. And Kravik's people will be watching the docks anyway. He looked at the 3 Keshtar. Why warn me? I thought you wanted to capture me. We did, Zira admitted. We do. But not like this. If Kravik's hunters eliminate you, our hunt becomes meaningless. Besides, she hesitated, you showed us honor when you did not have to. We return that honor now. Marcus studied them for a long moment. Then he made a decision. If I cannot run, then I have to defend this position. My workshop has good walls and only 2 entrances. I know the layout. I have tools and materials. He looked at the 3 hunters. I could use help. Nell grinned, showing her sharp teeth. You want us to fight beside you? Against 12 bounty hunters? I know it is asking too much, Marcus said. It is not asking too much, Zira said. It is offering us a chance to fight for something that matters, instead of following tradition blindly. She looked at her companions. I will stay. What about you 2? Vex did not hesitate. I stay. Nell cracked her knuckles. I would not miss this fight. Marcus smiled with relief. Thank you, all of you. The 4 of them began preparing immediately. Marcus knew exactly what they needed. He pulled out bins of equipment and materials, spreading them across his workshop floor. Human defense tactics rely on preparation, he explained. We cannot match them in direct combat. But we can control the environment. Make them fight on our terms. He showed them how to build traps using simple machines. Electromagnetic pulse generators made from engine parts that would disable weapons and armor. Fuel cells that could be rigged to explode with precise timing. Cables stretched across doorways at ankle height. Magnetic plates that would lock armor in place. The Keshtar learned quickly. Their hunting instincts made them natural at understanding traps. Vex's sharp eyes found perfect positions for sensors. Nell's strength allowed her to move heavy equipment into blocking positions. Zira's tactical mind helped coordinate everything into a coherent defense. This is fascinating, Vex said as they worked. Humans do not rely on natural advantages. You create advantages. Exactly, Marcus said. We are tool users. That is our strength. They worked for 2 hours. The workshop transformed into a maze of hidden dangers. Anyone entering would face a nightmare of carefully coordinated traps. Finally, Marcus's security sensors detected movement outside, multiple heat signatures approaching. The bounty hunters had arrived. 12 contacts, Marcus confirmed. They are spreading out. Professional tactics. The 4 defenders took their positions. Marcus controlled the trap systems from his computer terminal. The 3 Keshtar waited at key positions, ready to engage any hunters who made it through the traps. The first bounty hunter burst through the main door. He was a Gravan, large and heavily armored. He took 3 steps before the electromagnetic pulse hit him. His armor shut down instantly. He stood frozen, unable to move in the dead machinery. 2 more hunters came through the side entrance. They were more cautious, scanning for traps. But Vex had positioned herself in the shadows above them. She dropped down, her natural Keshtar agility allowing her to disarm 1 hunter before he could react. Nell charged the second, her strength overwhelming him. More hunters poured in. The workshop erupted into chaos. But it was controlled chaos. Marcus triggered traps with perfect timing. The Keshtar used their hunting skills to strike from unexpected angles. Cables tripped advancing hunters. Fuel cells exploded, creating walls of flame that forced the attackers into kill zones. A hunter with a long-range weapon tried to shoot Marcus. Zira intercepted, using a metal sheet as a shield. She charged forward, her Keshtar speed carrying her across the room. She struck the hunter's weapon aside and disabled him with a precise blow. The battle lasted 15 minutes. When it ended, all 12 bounty hunters lay unconscious or restrained across the workshop floor. The 4 defenders stood among them, breathing hard, but victorious. Marcus looked at the three Keshtar with genuine respect. We did it. We actually did it. We did, Zira agreed. Together. Nell laughed, the sound full of joy. That was the best hunt of my life. And the prey was fighting beside us instead of running from us. This changes everything, Vex said quietly. Zira nodded. She understood what Vex meant. They had started this journey as hunters seeking prey. But they had become something different. They had become allies. Partners. Maybe even friends. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. The battle was over. Smoke drifted through Marcus's workshop. Broken equipment and unconscious Vortan enforcers lay scattered across the floor. The makeshift traps had worked perfectly. Human ingenuity combined with Keshtar instincts had created a defense that even Kravik's heavily armed team could not overcome. Marcus sat on a workbench, breathing hard. His shirt was torn and he had a cut above his eye, but he was smiling. Across from him, the three Keshtar hunters collapsed against the wall. They were exhausted but unharmed. That was incredible, Vex said, her eyes bright with excitement. The way you used the electromagnetic pulse to disable their armor, then trapped them in the fuel cell explosion. I have never seen anything like it. We could not have done it without your tracking skills, Marcus replied. You heard them coming 3 minutes before my sensors detected anything. That warning saved us. Nell flexed her injured arm. During the fight, she had thrown one of Kravik's enforcers clear across the room. You were right about everything, human. We completely misunderstood your species. Zira was quiet. She had been thinking deeply since the battle ended. Finally, she looked at Marcus and spoke. We owe you an apology, and an explanation. Marcus nodded. I would like to hear it. Zira took a breath. We are on our coming-of-age hunt. In our culture, young Keshtar must capture a sentient being and bring them home to prove we are worthy hunters. Only then are we considered adults. Only then can we marry, own property, or have a voice in our clan's decisions. So you need a captive to go home, Marcus said. It was not a question. Yes, Zira admitted. We chose you because we thought you would be easy. The galactic database said humans were weak. We were fools. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he surprised them by laughing. It was not a cruel laugh, but one of understanding. Do you know why the database says that? He asked. Because humans were prey animals once. On Earth, thousands of years ago, we were not the strongest creatures. Lions hunted us. Bears hunted us. Even wild dogs could eliminate a human easily. The three Keshtar listened with fascination. We survived by being smart, Marcus continued. We learned to make tools. We learned to work together. We learned to plan and adapt, and never give up. Humans became apex predators. Not through strength, but through stubbornness and creativity. That explains much, Vex said. You fought us the same way. Not with power, but with planning. And you never tried to hurt us, Nell added. You could have, several times. But you always chose to escape instead of attack, Marcus shrugged. I did not want to hurt you. You were just doing what your culture required. That does not make you evil. It makes you young and following traditions without questioning them. Zira felt shame wash over her. You are right. We never asked if the tradition was correct. We only followed it because it was always done this way. Most people do that, Marcus said kindly. It takes courage to question traditions. Silence filled the workshop. The three hunters looked at each other. Their entire mission had been built on a false understanding. They had failed their hunt. They could not return home with this human as a captive. He had proven beyond any doubt that he was not prey. We will leave, Zira said finally. We will return home and face the shame of failure. It is what we deserve. End quote. Wait, Marcus said. He stood up and walked to his computer terminal. What if you brought home something more valuable than a captive? What do you mean? Vex asked. Marcus began typing on his keyboard. What if, instead of a trophy, you brought knowledge? Information that could save Keshtar lives? He pulled up files on his screen. Battle recordings from their fight against Kravik's forces. Detailed analysis of human tactics. Medical data about human capabilities. Everything he had learned about how humans think and fight. Your people think humans are Category 3, Marcus explained. That makes humans seem like easy targets. But we are not. If Keshtar hunters keep trying to capture humans based on bad information, some of them will get hurt, or worse. Zira's eyes widened as she understood. You want us to bring back a warning. To show our people the truth about humans. More than a warning, Marcus said. A complete profile. Show them how humans adapt. How we use our environment. How we think. If your elders see this data, they will reclassify humans properly. Maybe even open diplomatic channels instead of seeing us as prey. Nell stood up, excitement in her voice. This could work. If we return with information this valuable, the elders would have to listen. We would not be failures. We would be pioneers who discovered important truth. You would be heroes, Marcus agreed. Heroes who prevented future Keshtar from making dangerous mistakes. Vex was already thinking ahead. We could testify before the Council of Hunters. Show them the recordings. Explain what we learned. This is better than any captive. 18. Zira looked at Marcus with new respect. You are giving us a way to save our honor while doing the right thing. Why? Marcus smiled. Because I think you three learned something important. You learned to question. To think. To see prey as people. That is worth rewarding. He spent the next hour helping them compile everything. Video recordings, tactical analysis, his own written testimony about human nature and capabilities. He even included personal stories about human history, showing how humans had overcome countless challenges throughout their existence. When they were finished, the data package was complete. It was comprehensive, detailed, and undeniable. One more thing, Marcus said. He looked at Nell. Before you go, would you spar with me? Not as prey and hunter, but as warriors who respect each other. Nell's face lit up. I would be honored. They cleared a space in the workshop. The other two watched as Nell and Marcus faced each other. This time, there was no anger. No desperation. Just two fighters testing their skills. Nell was stronger and faster. But Marcus was clever and unpredictable. They exchanged moves, each learning from the other. When it ended, both were smiling. You fight with honor, Nell said, offering her hand. Marcus shook it. So do you. The three Keshtar prepared to leave. At the workshop door, Zira turned back one last time. Thank you, Marcus Chen. You could have humiliated us. Instead, you taught us. We all learned something, Marcus replied. Safe travels. Their ship departed from Crimson Nexus an hour later. Inside, Zira sat in the pilot's chair, the data package secure in her possession. Vex and Nell sat behind her, talking excitedly about how they would present their findings. What will you say to the council? Vex asked. Zira thought for a moment. Then she smiled. I will tell them the truth, that we hunted the most dangerous prey in the galaxy. Not because humans are violent or cruel, but because they refuse to be victims. Because they adapt. Because they turn enemies into allies. And because underestimating them is the deadliest mistake any hunter can make. On Crimson Nexus, Marcus returned to his repair bay. The engines still needed work. He picked up his tools and got back to his job, humming the same tune as before. Just another day for a human mechanic. Just another example of humanity's greatest strength. The ability to change minds instead of taking lives.